Sealed Quality Award for biggest technical blunder. Mighty number 9. No Man's Sky. Street Fighter 5. No Man's Sky.
We'll keep this simple since we're trying to stay within a time frame. No Man's Sky crashed hard. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone expected some bugginess here and there. After all, it's an open-world, randomly generated, creature-filled multiplayer universe. Except it isn't really. Failing to deliver basic promises is bad enough, but it becomes even more of a disaster when the game just overall barely worked to begin with. Crashing often, on not only the PC version but PS4 as well, proves that while Hello Games can't deliver the revolutionary product they promised, they can't even deliver a working product in general. Honestly, who didn't see this game winning?
The Style Over Substance Award for Best Art Style Wasted on a Poor Game. No Man's Sky. Firewatch. Owlboy. Paper Mario Color Splash. The Witness. And the winner is... Firewatch. Firewatch falls in the same traps as the usual narrative indie games V has come to despise. Too much focus on the idea of the game than the actual execution of the gameplay itself. For once, Firewatch had potential and could have gone somewhere. In a large and wild area, colorful and lush, it could have found a way to be compelling, original, and even touching. Unfortunately, it turned out to be another mundane walking simulator with little to no gameplay, just like Gone Home or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. All you do is walk around with a walkie-talkie, investigate random objects, and hear Delilah bitch at you. The story is typical indie game garbage, and there's little to no character interaction outside of the walkie-talkie. If I wanted to see the world of Firewatch and be amazed by the graphical details, then I would get out of the house and take a drive to the closest national park.
Hype Machine Award for crimes against humanity.
You don't see yourself,
No Man's
so
Sky.
the only way for you to know what you look like is for somebody else to, to see.
Can you run into other people, other players on the game?
Yes, but the chances of that are incredibly rare, just because of the size of what we're doing.
Social justice warriors.
Neither have I. You're fucking a white male. You're a white man.
White people don't always like to be poor.
Right. Bullshit.
That's what Bernie Sanders said. That's what Bernie Sanders said.
No.
Mighty number 9.
I got this new character which is so cool. The Bendigot. It's so cool because it actually has such a good weapon. It's so overpowered. So you guys are wondering, what is the glitch until now?
No Man's Sky.
Sean Murray's about to make you his bitch. Hello Games laid out the tarp, squatted down and took the biggest shit they could muster before slapping it into a box and calling it a game. It's hard to understand how a game in development for years, with almost no publisher interference and near unlimited funds from Sony, could release in the state it did. It overpromised, underdelivered, and was a giant middle finger to anybody that followed its marketing blitz. And yet here we are, so we'll just let Hello Games describe it in their own words. No Man's Sky was a mistake.
INTERMISSION Award for Best Implementation of an Old Franchise. Doom.
In the name of Jesus. Against pressure.
Pokemon Sun and Moon.
In the name of Jesus. Against pressure.
Hitman. Ex-Content.
Gotta do better.
Another Metro 2 leak.
Literally nobody saw this coming, yet they managed to unfuck the series after Doom 3. Going back to basics worked in the game's favor, since after all you don't really need a story to justify being a walking demon meat grinder. Even more surprising was the fact that multiplayer in a fucking Doom game was mediocre at best, yet the single player was just so damn good. It managed to justify its position on this list. The most surprising part, however, was that a Doom game managed to take modern FPS standards, such as the newer control schemes, attachments, challenges, and more, and actually apply them to its fast, frantic gameplay so well. Doom proves, however, that sometimes less is more.
And you don't seem to understand.
New Challenger Award for Best New IP. The nominees are Let It Die, VA11 Volley, Darkest Dungeon.
Let's turn to Cthulhu for the 5-day forecast. Thanks, Cthulhu. Well, it looks like it's going to be another muggy one this week with a high-pressure area of seawater.
Stardew Valley.
Oh, I know that. This girl sucks.
Overwatch.
I'm playing Overwatch, guys.
Drinks all around! Hey, Anon, there's nothing wrong if you order that girly, fruity-looking drink over there. We're all Anons here. Who am I kidding? You look fucking pathetic!
Is it a VN? Is it a role-playing game? Is it a simulator? Nobody knows, but it's still nice and comfy. While the gameplay isn't the most interactive, it works in its favor as the purpose is to plop you down in a cyberpunk city and simply try to make ends meet. The stories you hear from the people you meet are entertaining, depressing, and sometimes just plain weird. And yet, like them, you can still find solace at the bottom of a cold one and the comfort of a blanket. It's just satisfying to see a game so happy in being itself. But for now, we'll have to make do with making some drinks and changing some lives.
Daisy. Survival involved. H1, V1. Star Citizen. Overgrown. Daisy.
How the fuck is this still not out? Seriously, I opened the game a week ago and it gave me the same message it did the last time I opened it 2 years ago. At this point, there really isn't any excuse for why this game isn't out and still listed as early access, besides the fact that developers know once they release the game, it'll get refunded en masse. It still feels like there's a lack of polish, but it has the balls to keep pushing forward more content updates and less bug fixes. As far as 2016 goes, this game was still in alpha, and it's been 3 years since it made it on Steam as a standalone game. It's the worst early access game because it shows the major flaw of the system. They made their money, got their attention, and now they don't need to actually make a game anymore. The biggest example of developer laziness.
8 Genre Award for Best Action Adventure Game. Doom. Dark Souls 3. Here. Another Metroid 2 remake. Let it die.
It's action-y, it's adventure-y, it's Doom. Look, there's more to a genre as vague as this than Uncharted, so just roll with it. The game is a constant rush from the moment you start to the moment it finishes, and scouring through the flaming pits of hell for more heads to crush is more than enough for V to decide this was what belonged in this category. It's an ambiguous speech for an ambiguous genre. Take what you can get.
White's Move First Award for Best Strategy Game. The nominees are
I don't want to see another alien piece put egg in my mouth. It's not fun.
XCOM 2.
It's stupid, and you guys purposely do it to piss me off. I have to go read my donations, and people are saying not how great.
Fire Emblem Faith Conquest. Darkest Dungeon.
The door's bolted shut.
Total Warhammer. Civilization 6.
Back in command, XCOM 2 has you fearing more than a squad of thin men and ridiculous escort missions. With base management on the simpler side, players have more focus on their teams, loadout, and preparedness for the task at hand.
Winning battles don't mean much as they do before. You'll risk objectives and time for resources or kills. Easier said than done, there's time to also worry about. You'll find yourself finding any inch of courage to take risky efforts of sieging important points on the map, kills that must be made to turn tides in battle, or crunching time just to get by. Anyone with a leveled head and keen insight will want to pick this game up. A tad bit on the masochist side on the larger gap in difficulty people might have over the last XCOM game, but it's worthwhile experience jumping back in as the ILMAO tactician.
Pixels Art Award for most pretentious indie game. Inside. That dragon returns her. Firewatch.
What do you look like?
Why are you asking?
Because I'm horribly superficial.
I could be Tom Cruise's good-looking twin brother.
Oh, that's too bad.
No Man's Sky.
Jesus Christ! I've done it again! I warned you, but did you listen to me? Oh, no, you knew it all, didn't you? Oh, it's just a...
The Witness. No Man's Sky.
Yet another open-world game with a pastel color scheme. Exploring an open world with nothing to do but just look at the sights. Perhaps at a time the game could have been described as ambitious, but clearly the final product disagrees with such labels. We have to constantly take a step back and remember, oh yeah, this is an indie game that somehow got a bigger advertising budget than most AAA games. Either way, Sean Murray's Love Child boasted about a rich, player-run universe with a deep story, state-of-the-art visuals, and a revolutionary genre mix, yet fell flat on its face in the delivery when they forgot to include gameplay with their game. This game wasn't some sort of indie with potential, big hopes, and ambition. It was just another treasure trove of misinformation and straight-up lies. Regardless of what went on behind the scenes, they still promised more than they delivered. In the end, only a bearded man-child who refuses to wear shoes can develop an entire, literal universe without a single line of dialogue deeper than incoherent babbling.
Worst Timeline Award. For not-announced sequel we want to happen. Metal Gear Rising 2. Fallout New Vegas 2. Half-Life 3. Dragon's Dogma 2. Devil May Cry 5.
Half-Life 3... Wait, really? We've been joking about this game since it was fucking episode 3, for God's sake. And even longer before then. Do you people ever get tired of bringing it up? Look, we'll never get it anyway, because Valve's run by lizard men. I've been researching this shit for years. They make a good game with some great story and fun multiplayer that runs on a fucking toaster, for fuck's sake. And then what do? They string us along. Sales and multiplayer games and hats, and they keep dumping them on us in hopes that we throw our cash at them in a vain attempt at finding the clues. That money? It's going to the New World Order. The Order run by Combine. Half-Life isn't even a fucking game at this point. It's a documentary of what's to come. It helps with the indoctrination. You either get used to the idea of bowing down to your soon-to-be overlords, or you fucking die trying to fight them with a crowbar. But you're smarter than that, right, V? You believe me, right? I want to believe.
Best Timeline Award. For a game coming out in 2017 that we hope doesn't suck. Death Stranding. Automata. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Automata. Are you actually surprised? It's a game by Platinum. Even with the sad confirmation we would find no visible butthole on the game's protagonist, Nier's sequel, under the masterful touch of Platinum and the guidance of Yoko Taro, can only turn into something gorgeous and breathtaking. The announcement trailer surprised everyone, and the demo served to impress. The combination of Platinum's well-known swordplay, the pod's gunning, and camera viewpoints allow for genre-blending variations. Plus, it also keeps most of the narrative in real time to avoid pausing the action. Mechanaloid enemies out of a construction worker's nightmare may not seem the most intriguing of foes, but the dev team somehow manages to make them threatening and oddly cute. The soundtrack by Keiichi Okabe is once again top quality. Let's hope Nier Automata will be worth looking back on.
Syria Award for Best RPG. Darkest Dungeon. Dark Souls 3. Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. Ram 6 The Collapse of Sound. Akira Sun and Moon. Dark Souls 3.
Third time's the charm, right? Or is this the fourth? Fifth? Does Bloodborne count? Anyway, Dark Souls 3 leaves a weird taste in the mouth of its fans. It's the last game in the Dark Souls series, finally closing the big fire and darkness myth, but also brings to the table the final decisive ending to its story. The world is dead and in ashes. The old god's crazy and decrepit. All that is left is to have your last adventure, put them to rest, and bring something new. Focusing on the gameplay, though, the title was From's attempt at rectifying the mistakes they made from the second entry. After some balancing passes and netcode changes, the experience overall was much better than prior. Besides, compared to what else we got this year.
I'm in the cockpit.
Sorry to spring this on you, but you got some aliens up ahead.
All right. Let's shoot!
It's an award for soundtrack, so just play music, fam.
Discworld Award for Best Writing or Story. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. Pokemon Sun and Moon. Steins Gate Zero. VA11 Hall A.
Purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
VA11 Hall A.
Nothing makes you feel better about your life than sitting back, pounding a few down, and listening to others gripe about how bad their lives are while sitting back and pounding a few down. VA11 Hall A is a game that achieves what many modern narrative games don't. Presents a living world filled with people that can believably live in it and makes those connections feel real. Whether you're learning about the corrupt government and police force through anonymous message boards, or talking to a robot prostitute about getting fisted, the game's writing gives some chuckles and feels between all the small talk about a big world.
Silent Protagonist Award for Best Character.
King drinking is very bad.
Lily.
Yo, I got a fake ID though. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Adam Jensen. Jen. Uncle Dan. Doomslayer.
And the winner is Doomslayer. This protagonist is so good that no one could write a speech about him apart from me. I wrote so much. Just listen to what I got here. I'm just gonna whip it out now. Okay, there we are. Alright. Unfold the paper. Doomslayer is fantastic. He is a good protagonist, and I'm very happy he won this award. That's all I wrote, essentially. Yep. I really agree with the statement that I wrote there. I won't go back on it. I think that was a fantastic statement about Doomslayer, or Doom Guy, as many people call him. Fantastic protagonist, fantastic game that came out this year. If you haven't played it, you gotta play it, mate. It's out the ballpark. in terms of high definition, next generation 4K video games, and I'm just very happy I was able to play it on my Xbox One. So thank you to id Software for making an incredible Protagonist.
The Aesthetic Award for Best Visual Aesthetics. Doom. Dark Souls 3. Darkest Dungeon. Fury. Valhalla. And the winner is Darkest Dungeon. It's just so dark, so sharp. It's Baroque, it's Mike Mignola-esque, and it's one of the few examples of a beautifully conceived Kickstarter game that delivered exactly what they showed in their proof of concept. Minimal animation, rough sketch designs for the people, places, and monsters, and a good way to convey when you come out on top or fucked up bad. Darkest Dungeon delivers a stark, grim adventure through catacombs and castles, giving new meaning to the term pen and paper RPG.
DeviantArt Award for Worst Character.
As the world is ravaged, one robot will fight to save us from extinction.
I think there's been a mistake.
The entire Battleborn cast. Nadine Ross.
Scusi.
You're not supposed to be back here.
Well, neither are you. But I'll tell you what, I won't tell anyone if you don't.
You have something I want, and you're going to give it to
Lenny.
Yeah, badass. Looks good.
Ready for the chip then?
Hold on. I'm savoring. Oh, look at this dick
This
bag.
sweetheart is Josh, aka Hot Sauce.
Yo, your hot sauce? Yo, man, I loved your frat house hat. Real talk. Thanks.
This weirdo's wrench.
The needs of the day.
Lenny.
Of course, fucking Lenny.
Whether this is pure satire or an old man trying to pull some youngster's disgustingly bony leg, Lenny is by far an example of how not to make a character in 2016. A crossbreed of a socially awkward geek and a Riddler cosplayer on Twitter, Lenny makes you unironically go, what did they mean by this? However, that's when we realized that we put more time into researching her character than Ubisoft has ever done developing her. We thought there were more reasons that she was an antagonist besides being a troll hacker, but no, that's literally it. You know the official reason she runs a hacker gang? Lenny got busted for weed. That's it. I wish I was joking. But it's there. That's how deep she gets. You'd think ditching the whole super serious tone of the last game with a more self-aware approach and down-to-earth setting, they'd hit a few marks better on writing. But no, it's just a bunch of old men trying to write someone hip and cool. Back to the drawing board, Ubisoft.
Cincinnati Award for Best Shooter Game. Super Hot. Overwatch. Titanfall 2. Shadow Warrior 2.
What's most important in a shooter? Shooting. And it's fucking Doom. Even Doom 3, as flawed as it was, had some satisfying gunplay to it. Mowing down endless hordes, stomping on skulls, sawing through demons, and shooting! We can't possibly add more to it. It's inherent to the game. Let the images talk for themselves.
Am 30. Januar dieses Jahres wurde die neue Regierung der nationalen Konzentration gebildet. Ich und damit die nationalsozialistische Bewegung traten in sie ein. Ich glaube, dass nunmehr die Voraussetzungen erreicht sind, um die ich das vergangene Jahr gekämpft habe, kommenden mit der Rettung einsetzen muss, die unterdessen von vielen Mann zu 12 Millionen.
United States Department of Homeland Security along with 4 other security agencies have requested video streaming sites to display this urgent message. This message affects the following countries: the United States of America, Canada, Mexico, Australia, United Kingdom, Uzbekistan. An impending nuclear strike from the People's Republic of North Korea was detected approximately 1 hour ago. The United States believe missiles are heading in the direction of the following countries. If you are affected, please seek refuge in the basement or designated zone for nuclear strikes as you're certain to die. If you are not worried, we may resume watching the transmission. For more information...
Bioware Award for worst writing or story.
And this motley crew is all that is left to save it. Only we can end this. Yet we fight each other over the scraps, while a legion of cosmic horrors and a traitorous scumbag consume the universe.
Mafia 3.
We'll grow fatter.
No Man's Sky.
My duty
Overwatch.
and my burden. That does not mean I do not honor him.
Bloom CTOS is like a giant spider web, endlessly gathering data. They're making backroom deals to trade our private information. We have to stop this. We're talking data manipulation on a massive scale. Rigged elections.
No Man's Sky.
I don't even know what to say in this speech. The game had story? I mean, there was the alien language you could kind of decipher bits and pieces of, but was it enough to qualify as a story? I think I remember some lazy aliens sitting down in some random bases. Look, alright, I'll admit there was a story, but honestly I just want to forget about it. Pretending it didn't exist will make this game at least slightly less of a joke. All we know is that you're making your way to the center of the universe for reasons. And then you get a nice little song by 65 Days of Static. But after that, it's just the same old shit in New Game Plus. That's it. That's the lore. 65 Days of Static is the center of the universe. So good job, Sean. You added just enough story to qualify to win this award.
Hyperbole Award for Best Trailer.
迷ってる時間ないよ。やっちゃって。ジョーカー、始めるぞ。
逃走経路は私がナビする。ともかく走って、逃げて。
Death Stranding.
Why would you do
Overwatch.
They tore our family apart.
The world is changing once again, and it's time to pick a side.
But look around! Someone has to do—
The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Grade enhancements. We're hiding a full set of cutting-edge experimental longs. You're telling me I got more implants than I thought I did?
More than your body can handle.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
You thought it was over? 3 fucking years of this shit. 3 years of the same game winning the same award over and over again. You know what? I'm fucking sick of it. Fuck this and fuck you.
Death Stranding.
Okay, let's cut to the chase right here. The Japanese hype man is really fucking good at making trailers. And now with his all-star cast and crew, it's not very surprising he won this award. Will it deliver? We don't know. But a game by Kojima, good or bad, with no interference by Konami, should be interesting. Regardless of whether or not we'll be able to understand a goddamn thing about it. We'll just have to wait with eager anticipation and see. Shine on, you crazy Westaboo.
DeviantArt Award for Best Game, released in 1996. Pokemon Red and Green. Quake. Crash Bandicoot. Diablo. Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64.
Super Mario 64 was made at a time when Bubsy 3D was considered the staple 3D platformer. And holy shit, did it improve that genre. The system's controller itself was built around making that gameplay as fun as possible. Regardless of whether you're a Nintendo fan, a Sony fan, or just someone who emulates everything, you can't deny just what made it stand above and beyond the competition, and to this day is still held to such high regard that it has become the gold standard of the 3D platforming genre. Other Mario games have come up and given it a run for its money, but 20 years later, every developer still looks back to this timeless classic as what they should aspire to achieve. After this award, we're sure a few of you will still boot it up for old time's sake. But whether you're speedrunning stages or breaking reality with half A presses, Super Mario 64 takes the winner spot for this award.
Most Hated Award for Most Hated Game of the Year. Metroid Prime, Federation Force.
We'll take care.
Master 3.
What's taking so long?
Mighty Number 9.
That's more like it. That's more like it.
Reborn. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky.
I don't actually have a speech, just some notes. By this point in the show, you should be able to write a 5-page essay on why this game sucks. We think it should be important to point out some reasons why this game won for Most Hated. So, I think we really need to point out the fact about how much Sony put out for this game. Side note, I just want to add how this formula is still efficient on most gamers despite being obviously shady. Game promises great innovations, groundbreaking mechanics, footage is shown and claims to be in-game footage, marketing overblows it, it's launched and it's completely not what was shown in any way. Another thing was that I have yet to hear of any new shipments of No Man's Sky since the launch of the game. I mean, we have so much about why this game is bad that we can literally copy and paste other award speeches about this game, and yeah, it's all there. What didn't go wrong with this game? I always try to see the positive in the negatives, but there really isn't anything besides the fact that they didn't release it as an early access game. Good job on that one, Hello Games. But let's get back. This is the award for Most Hated. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the worst game released this year, but most of you voted because it fits both bills. We should look at why this won Most Hated, and it really boils down to the hype factor. For Sony fans, they were promised a good game by Sony themselves. They were so sure of this game that they put so much money in telling us about it. This was a game that Sony promised to be the kind of game they could mock other consoles for not having. For us sane normal people who own a PC, it was a game that had aspects of all these garbage early access space games that have been in development longer than the Wii U's lifespan. It promised to be this game that we've been promised over and over again, and it was actually coming out. No Man's Sky failed on both ends. For Sony users, it wasn't an exclusive to be proud about. It was an embarrassment. For all PC users, it was another mistake and another game to sit in the dusty catalogs of people's Steam accounts.
Least Worst Award for Least Worst Game of the Year. Dark Souls 3. Titanfall 2. Human Sun and Moon. V11 All Night.
It's just so good. It's just a damn good shooter. Can't say much more than that. It plays nice, each weapon feels unique. The music, the graphics, the demon designs, the style, the challenges, everything, really. Except the shitty multiplayer, but let's ignore that. In an era of gaming where all shooters are primarily or entirely multiplayer focused, it's really fucking nice to see a game like this that actually puts time and effort into a fun single-player experience where the game can't be won with a 25 kill streak. The best representation of this game that I can think of is that it's pretty much exactly like the Doom comic from the 90s. You're the Doom guy, you're mad, and you need to kill demons in the most violent ways possible. That's why this game works. It's because instead of focusing on some plot about jerking off in space or something, it knows what it is and accepts it. It doesn't try to be edgy, genre-defying, or be meta about it. It's just a game that knows you want to murder demons, and it delivers it on a blood-soaked platter.